The Porsche Macan is a hot seller and a bastion of hope for Porsche, as nearly 80% of Macan customers are new to the brand and likely to stick around and buy something else from Porsche in the future. To keep that kind of success and gateway to its pricier models going, the German automaker has repackaged its hot little compact luxury SUV into something all new and all electric with the 2024 Porsche Macan EV. It grows a little bit over the standard gas model, but its performance gains and technology overhaul should propel it far into a successful future and more expensive price point, as the all-new Macan 4 and Turbo EVs. Macan EV Design. The Macan EV launches with a lower standard performance model dubbed the Macan 4 as well as a high-performance variant dubbed the Macan Turbo. All Macan EVs should come with AC charging ports on both sides of the vehicle for convenience, with a DC port limited to just one side depending on market. The new Turbonite style gray badging Porsche previously announced is offered as an exclusive option for Turbo trim models. There will only be one body style, but designers decided to incorporate coupe aesthetics into the profile and details of the new Macan design. It also goes for the increasingly popular trend of separating the main headlight unit lower from the daytime running lights, which get the quad-pattern Porsche signature similar to the Taycan EV. There will be 20 to 22-inch wheels across two available powertrains, including a 22-inch lightweight forged wheel option and specific off-road wheel options. For less than $2,000, you can paint two of the wheel options to match the bodywork, if you're nasty. The EV is bigger than the current gas-powered Macan compact luxury SUV but is still be classified as compact, with a stretched wheelbase, now 113.8 inches versus the standard Macan's 110 inches. As a benefit of the all-electric shared PPE vehicle platform the Macan EV is based on. The EV is also about 2 inches longer now overall. Macan EV power and range specs. The more powerful of the two launch Macan trims, the Turbo, is good for a max output of 630 horsepower and up to 833 pound-feet of torque in launch control mode with overboost functionality. The car regularly produces 576 horsepower when not in the limited overboost function. Power comes from two updated permanently excited synchronous motor (PSM) units, one linked to the front and one linked to the rear wheels, offering all-wheel drive and torque vectoring and powered through a two-stage single-speed transmission. The Macan Turbo EV gets from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.1 seconds with a top speed of 161 miles per hour. The Macan 4 is good for 382 horsepower, or a max overboost output of 402 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque through all four wheels, with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 4.9 seconds and a top speed of 146 miles per hour. The Macan EV is said to have a 0.25 drag coefficient, making it one of the more slippery SUVs out there. The Tesla Model Y is reportedly 0.23. It also has a max towing capacity of 4,409 pounds for both trims. The roof can hold up to 165 pounds with the rack setup, and the Macan EV sports a max wading depth of 13.3 inches, a normal ground clearance of 7.2 inches, and a raised clearance of 8.8 inches. That available 100 kilowatt-hours, 96 kilowatt-hours of which is said to be usable, battery pack is said to be good for an estimated 500 kilometers, or roughly 310 miles of range on a full charge, though that's not an EPA figure yet, and likely only reflects the Macan 4 launch model and not the Turbo. In a real-world test of a prototype, Motor Trend estimated the Macan EV could get up to 290 miles on a charge. In the future, it's possible that Porsche plans to offer an even lower entry-level EV trim which could come with rear-wheel drive, as well as an even higher performance Turbo S model further down the line after launch. Macan EV charging, chassis, and suspension setup. The new Macan EV rides on the PPE chassis architecture shared with Audi. Porsche claims it will be able to manufacture pure electric Macans alongside gas models and other model line production at its Leipzig, Germany factory. A double wishbone axle suspension setup supports the front and is configured around the front motor drive unit, with a multi-link axle at the rear. A coil spring suspension setup is offered from the factory in some markets, which is available with an available Porsche Active Suspension Management (PASM) upgrade that features new 2-valve shock absorbers with greater damper characteristics spread and more tuning fidelity for the driver between sport and comfort settings. However, at launch, all US Macan EVs will get air suspension setups. The PASM system is also available with the Macan EVs air suspension setup with the same trick damper adjustment, though these models can also raise or lower the body for easier entry or at high speeds for improved aerodynamics, from -30 mm to +40 mm from base height. The suspension settings should offer normal, sport, sport plus, and off-road modes. Macan Turbo EV models equipped with the performance rear axle get a slightly rear-biased 48-52 weight balance, with the rear electric drive unit fastened directly to the structure at 4 points for improved chassis stiffness and noise and vibration management. An electronically controlled differential lock on the rear axle is also standard on these models as part of the Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus system. Rear axle steering will also be available on the Macan EV for improved handling and turning radius, with a 15% more direct steering ratio to the front axle. The Macan EV battery carries a rich 8:1:1 mixture of nickel, cobalt and manganese in its 12-module, 180 prismatic cell, gross 100 kWh pack, which should promise 30% greater energy density than the 2023 Macan EV setup. Also, the rear axle pulse inverter now gets silicon carbide for reduction in switching losses, with just silicon still in the front setup. The battery packs can also now be easily repaired with their modular setup, designed in a way for each of the 12 modules to be individually removed and repaired or replaced should any issues arise. The new Macan EV will use an 800-volt system, now with a charging capacity of up to 270 kilowatts to shoot from 10 to 80% state of charge for the battery in less than 22 minutes. Any 400-volt charging kiosks will also be able to enable bank charging of the battery pack, which essentially splits the 800-volt battery into 2 separate units, which are then aligned, each with a nominal 400 volts, that can be charged in parallel at up to 150 kilowatts through a single cord. A new so-called Integrated Power Box, IPB, joins the separate onboard 11 kilowatt AC charger, the 6 kilowatt high voltage heater, and the DC-DC converter components into a single lighter unit that shaves off more than 6 pounds of weight. Macan EV interior and technology. Inside the new Macan EV is a bevy of standard and optional screens, with all cars getting a 10.9-inch center dashboard touchscreen paired with a 12.6-inch driver display. You can also option up to an augmented reality head-up display unit, apparently equivalent up to an 87-inch display ahead of the driver. And passengers can enjoy an optional 10.9-inch passenger side screen that is shielded from view for the driver while moving. A new standard informational ambient lighting setup changes the pattern based on whatever the vehicle is doing, with a welcome greeting, charging status indicators, special launch control lighting mode, and more, in various blue, red, and green hues. The Porsche voice assistant has also been updated for more natural question and answering, as well as quicker response times, and can recognize whether the driver or passenger is asking the question based on location of sound in the car. The new Macan EV runs on an Android-based infotainment system shared with the likes of the new Porsche Panamera we recently covered. That means you now get access to familiar and popular digital applications like Spotify, Zoom, YouTube, and TikTok on the center and passenger screens, with limited functionality depending on if the car is driving or not, of course. The car's navigation app has been heavily overhauled for improved route planning that incorporates charging stops, with preferences available for select charging service providers and with live charger availability updates. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Porsche says 85% of its customers use Apple iPhones, are also better integrated now, with the non-Porsche map applications now porting to the driver's instrument cluster for improved visibility. There's also 4.4 cubic feet of additional cargo space compared to an ICE Macan, thanks to a slightly bigger space behind the seats, as well as the inclusion of a frunk offering 2.9 cubic feet of volume. The second of 4 planned all-electric Porsches. The new Macan EV marks the second of 4 announced all-electric Porsches that are in the works or already available. That includes the Macan EV sedan and shooting brake models, as well as upcoming E718 coupe and potential roadster sports cars, and a new electric SUV that's said to be big enough for 3 rows of seating to slot above the current and any future Cayenne SUV models, gas or electric. The Macan EV is assembled in Zuffenhausen, Germany, while the gas and hybrid Panamera, gas and electric Macan, and future electric 3-row SUV will all be assembled in Leipzig, Germany. Macan EV delivery and pricing. The Macan 4 EV starts at $80,450 and the Turbo EV starts at $106,950, with deliveries expected to begin in the second half of the year.